Welcome everybody to Daily Census Explained, where we explain the story in more detail, but in a fun way, so you can know the backstory and how the inspiration came for each episode and each chapter. Thank you guys for listening.
Well, welcome back, everyone, for Chapter 2 of Daily Census, Lies and Damage Control. So, of course, we know that after all the panic of the nurses and them trying to breathe some life back into the children, we know there are going to be things coming down from upper levels here, and this is what starts to happen. All right, so the three nurses, they're meeting with Amber Taylor, the night shift lead nurse, and she's letting them sweat a little bit. Like, she's letting them sit there for a minute, but she has started this discussion, interrogation really with them right away. And so they couldn't get their story straight. She wants some answers right now. But she then, I think she makes a mistake. She lets them get together in the other room where she's trying to figure some things out, and they start getting their answers together. Now, does this come from things that you all have seen before where something goes wrong and people try to get a story straight as to what happened, even though it's not the full truth of what happened?
Oh, yes. This even happens with children. You can't even do it with children, yet adults. Adults are just a little bit quicker about it. The three nurses, yes, getting together and one taking the lead with Lisa. They are all, hey, this is what happened. This is what we're going to say. Stick to it.
Yes.
We all can't lose our jobs here.
Yeah. And they definitely try to get their stories together. But of course, they're all in a panic mode, and different people are going to respond differently to emergency situations like that, or horrifying situations. Some are going to be more able to get themselves collected a lot faster. Some are going to be a lot more nervous. And that's what felt real about this, is that the characters were not interchangeable. They each seemed to be, even though this is their only real set of scenes here, each one has their own distinct personality, and I appreciated that. And because, again, some people rise to the occasion better than others do in emergency situations. And you could see that a couple of them actually were doing a really good job of trying to calm the others down, get these babies revived if possible. Mm-hmm. Their training kicked in. And unfortunately, there are going to be dire consequences for all of them because they went to the New Year's party for, 20 minutes or so total. But it still shows you that even when people have made a mistake like that, it doesn't mean they're entirely incompetent, that they know what they're doing. And in this case, they did. They just made a real mistake of not being in that room.
One bad decision can ruin your life.
Yeah, there's always one who takes the lead. Like you told the others, grab the baby closest to you and start the compressions.
Yes.
Do what you're trained to do. And that's what happened, but sadly, it was too late.
But did you notice how I flipped the characters? The girl Renee was the scary one, and was like, we shouldn't be doing this. I don't feel comfortable with all us going on break together.
Yes.
But then when shit went down, and the other girl's like, you got to do that in the third.
She
froze, and then she took over and like, hey, I'm not going to jail for this. You better stick to that story. That she ended up being the one telling everybody, we're going to stick to these stories. I'm not losing my job. I'm not going to jail over this.
Right.
She went from the quiet,
meek,
nice one to fuck that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to jail over this.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show you how someone can be one way 1 minute, the next minute when their life is on the line, she was the one that stood up to everybody.
Yeah.
Training
Who was the
kicked
timid
in.
one before. She wasn't timid after she knew her ass was going to jail for those babies. Because then again, somebody got to take the fall.
Right. And that often is how it does play out in life, is that people always assume that the people who seem the most assertive are going to be the best in an emergency situation, but it doesn't always play out. It's sometimes the people who are a little more quiet and reserved otherwise when that emergency hits, because sometimes those people are expecting that something bad eventually is going to happen, where sometimes the assertive, confident people are like, everything's going to be great and fine. And then they fall apart when things actually go down. And sometimes that person you wouldn't expect actually can rise to that occasion because in the back of their head, they've been preparing for this to happen at some point.
But see, that's why I use that example. Like, a lot of people talk it, but when the shit really happens, what you going to do?
Right.
You see, a lot of people, when stuff get bad, before it gets bad, they big bad. They're going to do it all.
Yeah.
As soon as shit happens, they go in the corner
Yep.
and cry.
Yeah.
And see, I've never been that dude. I'm gonna step up and do it. So I just want you to see the difference. So a lot of people promise they're gonna do these things, and I'm gonna do this and do that.
Yeah.
But when it's time to do it, they don't do it.
Right.
So
I found myself being in those situations as well, being in the military and having to deal with loss. When things come to happen, for me myself, I get really quiet and calm, so I can gather myself and go straight into what I'm supposed to do. There's others who try to stay in the forefront and show that, I'm in charge. You have to listen to me. And then when the situation really comes at hand,
then they quiet.
they fold.
You
And
know
it's
what I mean?
us that are in the back. When you say the Indian,
Yeah.
the chief is the first one to always fold. The Indians, who are supposed to be the followers, they're the ones who really have the hands-on and know what to do. They have the training and the insight to go forth. And
But that's just our military training.
yeah,
And
let's
plus,
get this done.
I'm a contingency plan guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Backups
Backups.
Trust me, Aubrey got backup on backups on backups.
Yeah.
Because you can't rely on one thing
Right.
Or person.
or one person. And remember this: just because it's yours, don't mean these other people care just as much as you.
Right.
If they're not getting money involved with it, they don't really
Right.
care. It's not their baby; it's your baby.
Yeah.
So you got to have contingency plans. You can't rely on people. Sometimes you got to do it yourself. Be prepared to have a plan B, plan C.
Right.
You got to do it.
And then as a nurse, everyone has the same training, but everyone has their certain positions on what they're supposed to do. And when that one person folds, you have to know how to do your job and their job.
Yes.
You go do this. Just like I know everyone's learned emergency, fire emergency. You go get the AED. You go call 911. There's always that one person who has to take over for the team and direct the others who know what to do, but just at that time of emergency, they just can't get it together.
And that's why I
do
put Amber Taylor in there. 'Cause
Yeah.
She's the charge nurse. Charge nurse runs things when the administrative staff is gone.
Yeah.
Trust me, I got more calls from charge nurses at night than anything. Aubrey, I'm like, can it wait till morning? No, because if anything goes wrong, I'm the guy they call.
Right.
So the charge nurse, I still got charge nurses in my phone, and I don't even work in hospitals anymore. But just for that, and and they have to be no nonsense.
Right.
I learned from charge nurses, you can't have friends at work. Because then they think they don't have to do their job.
Right.
So the charge nurses got to be strictly business. And as you've seen in this, Amber Taylor was strictly business.
Yes.
When they got in that room together, finally, it was about that business.
Yep. And she is immediately trying to get to the heart of what happened here, because she knows, of course, that she's going to have to answer to someone above
The
her.
CEO and COO and the CNO.
Yep. And she better have an answer that makes sense. And unfortunately, the way the world works, there better be someone to blame too.
It's got to be.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to come on her.
Baby's
So-
died.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That changes everything.
And so right away, they start talking about the biomedical department and the faulty equipment and what happened with the equipment. And so they're kind of discussing, was this the actual cause of it? But, and then they start talking about we got to protect the hospital, basically. And that becomes a big point in all of this is no matter what actually happened, we have to make the hospital not look like as a whole it is a problematic place. And so they're protecting the
Exactly.
institution. And that's where the chief of security, Robert Samuels, or security director, comes in, is trying to stop this interview so that he can get them, the nurses
Yes.
away.
Once the police is there,
Yeah.
they take over.
Yes.
So the thing is with that, especially with you can tell I did my homework on the hospital structure because I was in it. I
Yes.
know the CNO has to be, all the nurses got to report to her.
Right.
COO got to make sure everything's good with security. And then you got the CEO that's only worried about the hospital reputation. So those things had to fall in balance and in
Right.
place. And because I know it's going to be nurses and everybody else who read this book.
Yes.
And they got to know this guy know what he's talking about.
Right,
Because
right.
I was in those meetings. That's what's called daily census.
Yes.
Because every morning we have a daily census meeting to tell us how many people in the hospital, how much money we need to make, we didn't make, how many people died, and we take over from there.
Right.
So that's why I tied it in the daily census, because that's the main thing. How you want to know why a hospital's running? Daily census meeting.
Yeah.
When everybody's on board. Everybody needs to know. So that's why I tied it into that.
And that really does connect because every job has basically that list of numbers of, are we making the numbers we need to make? What do our numbers look like? And whatever those numbers are, like I worked at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and they would go by matches. How many matches have we made? Because all these matches equal dollars.
It's all about money, man.
Yeah.
We're in a capitalist system.
Yeah.
They can say non-profit all they want. You still got to make money.
Yeah, you got to keep the doors open. You got to keep
True.
doing what you're doing. So,
True.
and so there was always a balance there of making sure that you were doing things with heart, but you also were doing things in a way that you were conscious that you still have to have money or you can't help anybody. So there was
then
always
you see
that balance.
when Amber Taylor got them to the interview.
Yeah.
She had them in there together.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Because as soon as she was done with that, one separate, she's going to break them down. Mm-hmm. And if she had a little more longer time, she could have broke them down.
Yeah.
But once the police come there, it takes over the full investigation.
Yeah.
And which
Yeah.
she was pissed about.
Yes, she wanted to get more to the heart of it because she knows, of course, she's next going to have to talk to Nicole Snipes, the CEO.
Yeah, Mama run things, yes.
Yeah, and if Amber is no nonsense, well then Snipes is at times
Can
1,000
imagine.
on that.
She didn't make the CEO for no reason.
Yes, and she immediately starts reminding Amber that of where she falls in all this in terms of where she could be blamed. And we're going to get into that in the next chapter, is basically looking at all of you are potential scapegoats, and how should I not place you at the forefront of this, and so that's
Somebody's going to take the blame.
Process
Yeah.
of elimination.
Yes, I mean, that's almost in any job, but that's
Yes.
when you're in management, that level, that's why they always have what they call deniability.
Yeah.
They don't want to ask too many questions or tell so many directions, so they got deniability.
right.
So she's putting it squarely on the charge nurse.
And it's something that I thought was interesting because you don't see it in too many horror films because we're too focused on people getting, sliced up and not so much on what are the actual consequences in a business or an organization or institution when people are getting killed.
Exactly.
What's happening in those larger, because like you said, in a capitalist system, there's always going to be a whole structure of blame and cover up, and so, and that's not usually covered in a horror film. The only one that, oh, go ahead, sorry.
You caught it, and my Aunt Linda caught it in my editing. She said, yeah, it's a lot of horror to it, and it's murder, but it also telling the reality of business as well. There's consequences when people keep dying in the hospitals. Nobody want to go there.
Right.
You want to have no babies there. You don't want to do anything there, and they can shut it down. So yeah, it all tied in together because actually, in actuality, I mean, I worked in hospitals and I know how it works.
Yes.
I mean,
And-
it's about money in the end.
And working in a system like that in any business can be a horror story of its own,
Oh
depending.
man, I was a safety officer. I was everything. I did what was it called orientations every
Yeah.
week. I did everything on there, man. But I was working 7 days a week. A
Yeah.
lot of money, but it burns you out.
I have to say, a couple of the scarier parts in this book were some of the characters that were not the serial killer.
Exactly.
Scared me more because they reminded me of bosses I've had and situations I've been in, and some of the exhaustion that we're going to get to in terms of like understaffing. That was horrifying too because I've been there too.
A lot of my inspiration in this book was the situation I went through with some of my bosses.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I tied it all in. It was a way of relieving some stress.
Yep. the only horror film that I would say covers some of the same ground, and it made me think of it, was the mayor in Jaws and Jaws 2. Because he's just trying to keep the town open. He's just like, shark, nah, it's not a big deal. It's only one. We don't even know if it. And so I had some of that same feeling where they're like, let's not talk about it, because they don't even know that there's a killer yet.
Exactly. They think it's just strictly the girl's negligence.
Right. So they're just like, we just need to spin this in the best way as possible. And so, yeah, that was the only other thing I thought of was.
But that was smart on the killer too. Mm-hmm. Very smart.
Especially when
Yes.
they didn't even know there was a killer yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But see, New Year's, you can do it on the holidays.
Yeah, and we're going to get to this. The holidays are a bad time at St. Mark's Baptist Hospital.
Every hospital, no
Really?
one wants to work it.
Yeah.
No one wants to work it. Trust me. I used to have bad guys. Come on, man. You want to work? Get double time, triple time. I've already got it off. If
Well-
there's a union involved, you really can't do anything about it.
Right. And that comes in later, too, is there was a lot of realism in terms of what you can and cannot do
Yeah.
per union and HIPAA and all those things, especially in a hospital.
But
So,
see, that's again, it has to show that I really worked in hospitals.
Yeah.
And I had to really explain it correctly because people like my wife who've been in the hospital, still
Right.
work in the hospital, they know that's going to be bullshit. And the hospitals don't work like that.
yep.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when they read mine, like, oh, he know what he's talking about.
Yep. Yep. It's like my
There's a lot of research.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like my wife watching like legal shows and
Law
police
and
shows
Order.
and stuff, like she knows what
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
no, that's all wrong.
Some people you can't bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, so I wanted to make
That
sure
doesn't happen.
I wanted
Right.
to make sure with this, they're like, okay, yeah, it does. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Wait till you see the animation.
Oh, I look forward to it. But it's very relatable that way. Even if you haven't worked in a hospital, you've had this boss.
Yeah, you had
You've
that
been
one
in this
boss who was a
situation.
dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody had one.
Or two.
Or more. All right. Well, we're going to continue with the fallout here in the next chapter. So, it goes from bad to worse for some people.
Yes, it does. And we just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to Daily Census, Chapter 2. And we'll go ahead on to the next chapter. We'll see you there.
Thank you, guys.
So if you could just please assist us by hitting the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. You can also comment and share our content. These small things really help our channel, and it means a lot to us. That's going to be it for now. Until next time, remember you are cherished by us.